Hey, hello, welcome to this Pixelmator tutorial. As promised, I'm going to show you how to make the lights and the light effect. On the screen in front of you, you just got two layers, carbon background and the word subscribe written over the top of it. The carbon background is just simply made. If you don't know how to make them and you want to use it for this tutorial, I'll put the link. I've done a video, I'll put the link to that video on the screen or in the description below. Or if I forget, just go to my Pixelmator playlist and look for carbon effect tutorial and you'll find it there. So yeah, let's get on. In the layers pane of this video, it gets quite busy and there's quite a lot going on, so I will go as slow as I can, but I don't want to drag it out too long, so I apologise in advance if I'm going a little bit too fast for you. So first thing we've got to make is the shape of the light. So we can go ahead and do that by using our tools right here and go to select our shape tool. So just left click on our shape tool and drag it down to the rounded rectangle shape. Now on my screen I'm just going to drag out a shape like so. Now yours doesn't have to be this big. I'm doing it this big. I'll resize them later. I'm doing it this big just so you can see it on the screen quite easily. So this first shape, because I'm going to have to keep referring to them, I'm going to double click it in my layers pane and rename it rectangle. So now I'm going to go back to my shape tools, left click, drag down to ellipse shape, and with this ellipse shape I'm going to just drag out an elliptical oval, let's call it, that fits nicely inside the rectangle like so. Then I'm going to double click that and call it the oval again, just because I'm going to have to keep referring to them. Now in my layers pane I'm going to drag and drop the rectangle above the oval like so. With the oval selected, I'm going to go to my styles tools right here. If they're not on your screen, press Command 7 and they will pop up. This fill gradient, I'm going to drop it to colour. And then I'm going to go to my colours over here, select my crayons, yellow, then go to colour wheel and drag that yellow down to a cream type colour. But your lights can be any colours, so you know I'm just doing this to keep it very simple and generic. So that's my, I'm happy with this colour that's selected. So I'm now going to go to this oval in my layers pane, right click it and convert it into pixels. And then I'm going to go to my effects browser, and again if you've not got this, Command 3 maybe on your keyboard, yeah, Command 3, and then I'm going to scroll right to the top, make sure that my oval is selected because that's the layer I want to apply the effect to. Double click the Gaussian blur, and I get this little tool slider pop up. Now I can change how this glows like so, and I just want it around 13, between 10 and 14 pixels, but it's personal preference. Click OK, and then with this oval still selected, I'm going to resize it. So it just fits nicely into this rounded rectangle, and it looks like a light is glowing, a light is switched on. Now once you've resized the layer within Pixelmator, people try and do stuff and you get this. Look, if you get this little rotate tool or another tool like this, it's just because once you've resized it, you just have to confirm by clicking OK in the top right hand corner of the main layers pane, of the main preview pane. So once I've got that, again I've resized it, like I said, make sure it fits into this rectangle. I'm going to highlight the oval and the rectangle in my layers pane, right click and merge layers, and then I'm going to double click what's now called the rectangle and call it light. So that's my light, and now with this light selected I'm just going to resize it so I'm happy with the size that fits on my screen, like so, something like this. Then I'm going to position it at the top. Now you see where this gradient comes down, I'm just going to position it so we get just you can either have a tiny bit of the grey, just have a look at that, a tiny bit of the grey, or you could just have, I'm just going to use my arrow keys just to In fact, just snap it into place like this. You could just have it where the gradient comes down and you just got the black part. So now it just gives it a different feel. So I'm happy with the size, I'm happy with how it looks and position. I'm going to right click the light in my layers pane, duplicate once, duplicate twice, because I want 3. And then I'm going to move them and position them on the screen where I want my lights. My second one, and just put it in the middle like this. And then with these lights, once I'm happy with the position, highlight them all in my layers pane, right click and group layers. Double click group and rename it to lights. So I know that's my lights, and I can move them all as a group now if I wanted to, and just make sure they're in the center of the screen. Now we're going to make the background effect for the lights to make it look like it's glowing. So I'm going to go to my background and I'm going to duplicate it as many times as I've got lights. So it's 3, that's number 2, and then number 3. Now with these background layers, the 3 copies, I'm going to highlight them all, right click and merge layers. Double click and just call it BG for background lights. So this is my background lights. Did I merge them? I must have done. Okay, right click, group, not merge, apologies, and rename it BG lights. So now I'm going to open those lights up and just double click them each and call them light 1, working from the top down, light 2. You don't have to rename them if you don't want to. I'm just doing it for ease, so I want to refer to them during the video. So with this light 1 selected, I'm now going to make the beam that comes from this light. I'm going to scroll down my effects browser to this spotlight, or you can just go search and type in spot and it will go to this spotlight. With my light 1 selected, double click spotlight. Now I get these control tools right here, look, and one of them is the top of the light and one of them is the bottom. So I am going to drag, and you'll see on the screen if you increase the concentration which one's the top and which one's the bottom. Just like it's sort of a torch beam. Now I don't want them too bright for now, right? And I'll show you why later. So I don't want the concentration too great, and I don't want the lights too bright. And I've just got mine on. Let's have a look. I've got it on 1% for the concentration and 1.9 for the brightness. So the first control point, the start of the light, I'm going to put above the light, and the second one I'm going to put below the light. And again, you can change the color right here and click OK. So now I'm going to do the same with light 2, double click spotlight, and you notice it just puts it in the same place as I last left it. So I'm going to drag it over to light 2, click OK, and again with light 3 we're going to do the same, double click on spotlight, and again just drag it over to light 3. Click OK. Now, because I made this carbon effect with like a light part in the middle anyway, all I'm going to do is select the background layer, click plus create new layer. So now I've got a new layer above my background layer, and I'm just going to simply fill it with the color black. So just fill it with the color black like so. Okay, so I've just got rid of the light part of the background that I created. That's all I've done. And I'm going to select my selection tool. Now let's turn the lights on. I'm going to go to light 1 within my layers, go to my effects browser, scroll down and find, or scroll up, sorry. Alright, just scroll through your effects and find invert. So with my lights 1 selected, I'm going to go to invert. So all I'm doing is inverting this light so it will make it brighter. Look. So that's quite simple. Now I'm going to do the same with light 2, double click and invert. And then light 3, double click and invert. So it gives us this fantastic lighting effect. I'm sure you'll agree. Now what we can do is, if you think it's a little bit too bright, just go to light 1, turn it off, turn light 3 off. So we're just left with the center light. Now I'm going to leave this one up 100%. Right, but with light 1, let me turn it on. I'm going to drag this down to around 60 something %. And again with light 3, I'm going to drag it down, the opacity down to 60 whatever it is % that light 1 was on also. So there you go. Now we just export that out to be whatever it is you want it to be. Now obviously we've got this text here. Let me just see what happens if I drag it below the lights but above the layer. See, it goes behind the background of the lights, so it just gives a different effect. So generally you would want it above the actual background lights, like so. So there it is. That's how to make your lights. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in comments below. Thanks a lot for watching, and enjoy creating whatever you're going to create. Catch you later.